Hi and welcome to this quick basic Pulsar tutorial. This is intended for brand new players that might feel overwhelmed looking at all the different screens on the ship, wondering what they do and what they mean. All the info I'm going to be talking about here is available in the game menu in the manual. This is also available online on Pulsar's website, which I'll link in the description. These go into more detail and depth than I'll be covering, so definitely check them out to learn more. Let's get to it. So first off, we have this little basic readout here, which can be found throughout every ship. It just gives basic info on your ship and any ships that are within sensor range. Shield and hull show your current out of your maximum for those. Quantum shield, that's what this is. If this goes down, you can be boarded by intruders, and this is only active up to a certain percentage of your main shield. O2 delta is just your change in oxygen, so if it's green, you're making oxygen. These health bars are all correspond to different ship systems that can take individual damage, shown here. Fires can start and they can spread and grow. If there are any on a system, it'll show an indicator here, and if they're big enough, they'll actually start to drain your oxygen, which this will tell you about here. Pressing tab opens up the main menu for gameplay. Important here are your talents. Each crew member has a couple of colored talents which are specific to their class only. All crew members have these gray talents down here. As you level up, you'll have access to new talent points, and you can cycle through and see your crew members' talents allocations. The ships tab just shows you different ship systems and what's installed in different slots. Inventory is your current inventory, as well as your equipment that you have equipped. And then the missions tab shows you active and abandoned and completed missions. This is the reactor screen. This gives you information on your ship's power. The top bar is the temperature of the core, which heats up as you use power. And down here, these all correspond to different systems, their power usage. First one is engineering, which corresponds to ship's thrusters as well as the jump drive charging. Second is science, which does a lot of things. It controls the range and effectiveness of the scientist's sensor scans. It also affects jump drive calculation and healing in the atrium. Shields here corresponds to shield recharge rate, not necessarily the direct strength of the shields. Weapons power controls the recharge and reload speed of the ship's turrets. And at the bottom here is just the total usage, total output of your reactor. As your ship and crewmates use these systems, they'll consume power and the reactor will start to heat up. It's the engineer's job to maintain control of that temperature, which they can do by either reducing power to non-essential systems or by using the coolant over here. The auxiliary power controls different minor systems. Each of these has a value assigned to it. If you turn these off, you'll see it'll add the power to the main reactor, so you reroute that power over there. The total power you're rerouting is listed here. A bunch of these are self-explanatory. Air filter reduces or filters out toxins if you get any on board your ship. Projected aim assist affects the ship's turrets. So if you're manning a rail driver turret on your ship, there's a little gray circle that helps you lead your shots. That's what this is on for that. It does not affect it does not affect friendly AI or auto targeting or anything like that. Missile lock just reduces the time for missile lock-ons for the main turret. Over here is the jump screen where the engineer charges the warp drive, and then once that's charged up and the ship is aligned, they will engage it. Down here is the emergency blind jump, which the captain has to unlock, and that is only for emergencies or for random fun. Down here in engineering, this system is also on the bridge of these two here, but this is your fuel, which you use, of course, to warp around, and then distress signals that you can activate when you're in trouble. This lever here and this button here for loading fuel. So the scientist has research and programs they can use. Researching takes warp jumps, and programs are only usable once or a certain number of times per warp. And so what you can do is load fuel into this and then pull this lever, and it will recharge their programs and jump research forward one step. So if the core does start to overheat, the ship will shut itself down automatically. This lever over here prevents that. If this is off, then the ship and the reactor will keep running even if it starts to overheat. Obviously that's dangerous because the reactor will continue to heat up when it's already overheated. This stability will start to decrease, and when it reaches 0, you have to eject the core. Over here, lastly in Engineer's Bay, is just the upgrader and the upgrader. So down here at the bottom left is the cost for the upgrade, and the top right is the amount of scrap you have. So the ship has all these systems on board, and you can upgrade those systems from here. You can cycle through everything, and you can see what the upgrade will do listed there. These 3 levers over here are for some main ship operations. In order to be repaired, you'll have to drop your shields with this in repair bays. Sometimes you might be infected with a virus. You can get rid of that by shutting down the main power. To get the main power back on, you just follow the prompts that are on this screen. Once you finish that process, you'll notice that everything is still off. You actually have to head to the bridge and push the manual override button, and that will bring all the screens back online. The scientist does lots of little things. They have these 3 main screens here. The center one has 3 tabs to it. The first one tells you information about your own ship. All ships in the game have an EM signature, which is just how easy they are to detect. And you can see your own EM detection ability as well as your signature. Over here is your cyber defense, which is your ability to fight off viruses. Down here you can remodulate your shields for different defensive types. The center tab here is for looking up information. You can type in sectors, like 1442 randomly, and that'll tell you very, very basic information about the sector. Or you can look up ships. I'll get back to that in a second. Programs. These all do different things. These are installed in the ship, just like other systems are. These all do different things, and you'll find different programs as you play through the game. The captain has to install them, and once they're installed, the science officer is able to utilize them and execute them to help out. Over here are the sensors. This is where you perform a scan of the area. So you see that now we have 2. We didn't see this before, but now it's here. You can click on these ships, and it gives you information about it. There are different levels to the scans. You get different information. You see I lost some information there. You can find out information. I'll click on my own ship here. Just different power distribution and other information. You can see also the registry is this one here is a GX1. So if you go back to the search, you can search for that ship class and find out more information about it. Over here is the virus screen. As you get attacked by viruses, they'll show up here. You have to click the little tab and then perform a little matching game to get rid of the virus. Behind here is comms. So if there are ships in range that you can hail, or repair stations or depots or anything, you can hail them, and then it'll bring them up on the screen for the captain to talk to them and interact with. Something additional on the scientist, on the top left you'll see I have the scanner up, but they also scan planets, so we're at a system with a planet here. If I click on that planet, you can find more information about it. On the surface, you use the scanner to tell you information about what you can find. So there are upgrades that can help you find other things on the scanner. As you can see, the red will be enemies, and the pink is a teleporter, and you can see the legend up in the top left of the scanner of what different things on the scanner mean. Here in the science lab, first we have the atrium, which is where every crew member heals and respawns. This is the atomizer. In here is where you place research samples, and different research samples will correspond to different colors here. Once you have some filled in there, you'll be able to research different talents for your crew. You can see all these down here are all different talents that can be researched from this screen once you collect the right amount of samples. The sensor dish, you can see on the bottom of the screen. I can use it. The Sensor dish does a few things. You can fire probes. What probes do is that they can detect cloaked ships, they improve sensors in that direction, and they can also collect research samples. Holding down right click, which is very loud, will perform a sensor lock, and that helps with different things with just an increased sensor scan on that particular ship. You can only have one locked at any particular time. Weapons Officer has a pretty basic but very important job of operating the main turret. So we hop in here. There are a few functions. You can read the controls on the right, but the main left click is fire the main cannon. Ship zooms in, and then if you press right mouse button, it fires a laser pulse beam, which is good for taking out mines. They also fire missiles. So here I'm in combat. You fire, that's the lightning turrets firing there, but to target the enemy ship with the missile, you just hold the right mouse button, and when that charges all the way up, it'll fire automatically. So I'm firing tracker missiles right now. Main contact, and then you also are able to cycle through the straight shot, and then those missiles will target whatever you are telling to target, depending on their selections you made, the keys. Back here is the item upgrader. So all the tools you have, not just weapons, but also things like repair guns and fire extinguishers can be placed here. And just like in engineering, they cost scrap to upgrade and they'll be improved. The nuke launcher over here is pretty complicated, I won't get into it, but if you want to learn more about how to use nukes, just go ahead and read up on that. The pilot, of course, flies the ship from the helm. There are a lot of control schemes. If you want to change them up from the default, that's best just to play around with by yourself. The default's pretty good. If you press spacebar, it'll show the nearby sectors, or is it? Yeah, it's spacebar. And those are all the sectors you can jump to once the captain lays in a course. It'll be highlighted on your screen, and you align to it, and then that's when the engineer can engage the warp drive. That little green right there is actually the sensor dish. You can see which way they're pointing. There are a few things to consider as the pilot. The turrets on this ship, the turrets are all on the top, so in order for your buddies to be shooting at enemies, you have to make sure the ship is oriented towards them that way. But on the bottom is armor plating, and any shots that hit you there will actually have reduced damage on your ship, as well as do reduced damage to ship systems. Something else cool worth mentioning here is that all the different sectors, all the bright stars, are the sectors you can jump to, and things like nebula that you see in the skybox here are actually really there. So there's a purple and a green nebula there. If we hit the map, you can see those purple and green nebula here. And those will actually be nebula systems as well, some of those, which affect your scanners. Finally, there's the captain. They have a lot of permissions that the other crew members don't. They can set the warp destination, buy and install ship components, and set buy limits for other crew members. There are other things throughout the game that can be done only by the captain. They're the ones who talk to other ships. So if you go over here, and the science officer hails a nearby ship, or repair station or general store. Sometimes they'll have dialogue options, which have little hourglasses next to them that correspond to diplomacy or intimidation. You can click that to see the chance of success. That's something they can do, and they also have talents that can increase the chance of those being successful. If you hold down Z, all crew members have access to this screen, but only the captain is the one who can change it. You can change the ship readiness, as well as stand down, red alert, or activate different alerts. Open up the tab. Here's where you might add bots. If you add those in, you can actually then go to Crew AI, and you can change the priorities of the different AI to, say you want someone always in the gun. You can do that from here. If you happen to lower enemy ship's quantum shields and teleport over and take over the ship, the captain is the one who can claim their ship. They also can access everyone's locker, whereas each player can only access their own locker. But just in general, it's really the captain's job just to help out wherever needed at that moment. They can watch the coolant and engineering, they can man turrets, they can fight viruses, things like that. One last thing I forgot to mention is that if you right-click when you're in the captain's chair, you can also have an external view, like the pilot has, and press spacebar like them and be able to see the nearby sectors as well. So that's everything I'm going to touch on. Again, this was very, very basic, but it should hopefully get you familiar enough to be able to get started. As you play through the game and play your class and interact with the ship more, you'll figure things out as you go, which is one of the best parts of the game in my opinion. Fly safe.